Chinese patience and long-term planning is a phenomenon that deserves a separate discussion. This amazing example demonstrates how, after 70 years of hard work, ingenuity, and perseverance, green grasses are now growing, bright flowers are blooming, and birds are singing on the bare sand of the Mu-Us Desert. This transformation was made possible by a thoughtful and purposeful program implemented by the Chinese government. The difficult battle with the desert began back in 1959, when China realized that focusing on the country's natural wealth required not only a strategic approach, but also a willingness to fight the desolate lands for a long time. One of the main problems was the proximity to the desert, which posed a serious threat. The sand dunes, blown by the wind, slowly but surely crept onto the fertile lands, killing them every year. For clarity, some regions could lose several tens of kilometers of land in just 10 years. The question arose. Either the desert would swallow up the Chinese, or they would find a way to reclaim their lands from it. At the first stage, the fight was initiated by the method of tree planting. The Chinese authorities began by creating a green belt around the desert, a living barrier designed to stop the further spread of sand. Interestingly, in the 1970s, a new law was passed in the country, according to which every Chinese citizen over the age of 11 was required to plant 9 trees annually. Considering that these were species such as eucalyptus, larches, and poplars, the efforts of citizens were aimed at contributing to the greening and restoration of the ecosystem. This initiative has generated not only an environmental movement, but also a new impetus for local businesses. The townspeople began to resort to the services of rural residents, who assumed responsibility for fulfilling the obligation to plant trees. This contributed to the prosperity of local farmers, who either grew their own seedlings or bought them, preparing the ground for further development. As a result, there was even a special website that allows people to order the execution of a tree tax for themselves and thus assist in the restoration of the ecosystem. What great results have these efforts brought? The desert, once a barren land, now pleases the eye with an abundance of green fields and life. The sown areas not only covered the surface, but also, thanks to a systematic approach and modern technologies, became real agricultural territories. The fields on these lands now produce about 1,000 kilograms of grain per year, while previously this figure was only 150 kilograms. This means that local residents not only provide for themselves, but can also sell their crops, increasing their incomes tenfold. It is noteworthy that previously the life of local residents was on the verge of poverty, and the materials for existence were minimal. But, thanks to efforts to plant trees and sell saplings, on the basis of which a new local business structure was built, the quality of life of villagers has improved significantly. The trees, planted back in the 60s, managed to grow and began to fulfill their beneficial role. They retain moisture in the soil, produce oxygen, and contribute to the revival of the local ecosystem. Interesting fact: from a height, you can still see how an almost dead area, once considered lifeless, is gradually coming back to life, so that the desert can no longer be called a desert. Nevertheless, it is impossible not to take into account the failures that have plagued this program. In 2008, landscaping faced serious difficulties when, as a result of the monotony of the trees planted, only 3 species, catastrophic losses occurred due to a disease that engulfed the entire forest. This led to the fact that about 1/5 of the planted trees died. Such a blow was avoided through decades of hard work and dedication. According to the latest data, Shanxi no longer has a desert on China's maps. 94% of the desert areas have been practically greened. Although progress has temporarily slowed down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, after a 2-year hiatus, the gardeners have resumed work on completing the project with renewed vigor. There is only a little time left before a complete victory, and everyone is confident that China will not stop there. But the question arises: is it worth leaving at least a small piece of the desert for a change? Nature and humanity seem to be successfully overcoming this challenge together. This experience is of global importance, as many countries face similar desertification problems. China's environmental project demonstrates that despite the difficulties and duration of the struggle, positive changes can be achieved, leading to an improvement in the quality of life of millions of people and the restoration of ecosystems. In this regard, it is interesting to note that the initiative for greening the Mao'us Desert has not only gained local significance, but also gained international recognition. This work was noted as an example of effective cooperation between the state, society, and the private sector in the implementation of large-scale environmental projects. The success of the program inspires other countries and regions to solve similar environmental problems. In addition, it should be noted that combating desertification is not only a natural, but also a social problem. Improving the environmental situation in the region has a direct impact on the economic and social living conditions of local communities. Economic growth, driven by the development of agriculture and tourism, is becoming a key factor in reducing poverty and improving the standard of living of the local population. Therefore, it is important to continue to support and expand programs for landscaping and environmental rehabilitation of territories in order to ensure sustainable development and improve living conditions for all. Thus, the Mao'us Desert Greening Program is a prime example of how focused and long-term efforts can lead to global positive changes. This story is a testament to the strength of human potential and the opportunities that open up to society when it unites for the common goal of preserving and improving the environment for future generations. This success can be considered as the basis for broader and large-scale projects on restoration and ecological rehabilitation of territories. Based on China's experience in this area, other countries and regions can develop their own programs to protect and restore the natural environment, taking into account local conditions and needs. This will facilitate global cooperation and the exchange of advanced technologies and practices in the field of ecology and sustainable development. Therefore, it is important to continue to support and expand international cooperation in the field of ecology in order to solve global environmental problems and ensure sustainable development for all. In conclusion, the history of the Mao'us Desert Greening is an inspiring example of how, through long-term efforts and strategic planning, almost any situation can be changed. It is a reminder that every person and every society can contribute to improving the environment, and that joint efforts can lead to global positive changes. This experience will be a valuable lesson for future generations, who will continue to address environmental challenges and work to create a more sustainable and green world. Therefore, it is important to continue to support and expand programs for landscaping and environmental rehabilitation of territories in order to ensure sustainable development and improve living conditions for all. In conclusion, we note that the Mao'us Desert Landscaping Program is a prime example of how the natural environment can be restored and improved if desired and necessary. This has been highlighted in recent studies, which show that ecosystem restoration can lead to significant improvements in the environment and human quality of life. Therefore, continuing this topic, we note that it is important to support and expand programs for landscaping and environmental rehabilitation of territories in order to ensure sustainable development and improve living conditions for all. This will facilitate global cooperation and the exchange of advanced technologies and practices in the field of ecology and sustainable development. This experience will be a valuable lesson for future generations, who will continue to address environmental challenges and work to create a more sustainable and green world. Therefore, it is important to continue to support and expand international cooperation in the field of ecology, in order to solve global environmental problems and ensure sustainable development for all.